Alright, so this is part 8 or 9 of what if Naruto only loved one person slash became a rogue, or became a rogue. Basically, we did it. We're just gonna start off. We start off where basically he got down from his push-ups. He gets up. He looks at Kakashi and Minato. They're staring. They're like, wow. They're like looking at him, and he says, "Stop staring." As he snaps in her fingers. He like snaps in their face, and he says, he looks at like he snapped in their face, and then Minato said, "Hey, son, I was wondering," and Izuku said, "I'm not your son. Don't call me that. Address me as Mr. Address me as being like boy." What? No, I'm playing. Naruto says, "Address me as Naruto." What are you gonna address me as? Nothing. He's like, well, you can address me as like, or nah. And basically, Minato says, "Why don't you want to hang out with me?" And he says, "Why don't I, huh?" Okay, let me tell you. Basically, he's like, he's like, "Why don't you want to go with me?" And he says, "I have plans with Hinata already." And he don't have any plans with Hinata though. And Sabuza gets mad or furious. Minato gets furious and says, "Okay." He thinks Hinata is keeping Naruto from, like, loving him. But Naruto just doesn't like Minato at all. So, basically, what happened was Naruto, he said, "Now, please don't bother me. I'm gonna go home to Hinata's freshly cooked meal." As he licks his lips. And Minato, the Ambu behind Minato, says, when do you want us to, and yeah, and basically, he's like, but he says that like in his mind. He's like just dancing around, and 10 minutes later, he gets to Hinata's crib. He opens the door, and he sees 3 Ambu. And Minato sent these Ambu to kill Hinata. He sees 3 Ambu, and they have swords, and Hinata can't get close enough to, like, use the Byakugan. And so, since she's not close enough to use her Byakugan, she doesn't activate it. And every time she tries to use it, he one of the Ambu cuts her hand. And basically Naruto said, Hinata? And she said, "Oh, Naruto, is that you?" Like she gets tossed to the ground. Or like from getting beat up. She got tossed to the ground. And yeah, and basically, after she said Naruto-kun, Naruto says, "What did he do to you?" And he automatically goes eight tails, and he just starts blitzing everybody. Like everybody's dead. Besides, makes no sense. Besides, but he did besides, he killed like everyone in that room that touched Hinata. And then she said, "Naruto, calm down, please. I'll be alright." And Naruto, he's letting kiss the yin. He's like calming down. The yin, he's like taking the yin, side. He's like, "Okay, let's calm down." And he looks down and he sees Ambu on the floor. And he says, "No." And he goes back into his eight-tail state. Yeah. Basically, after he goes into his... Yeah, me too. Sorry. And basically Naruto, he started breathing heavy. He gets up. And so does Hinata. And she tries to like run to Naruto to calm him down. And basically, she flew back into the wall and knocked out from Naruto's pure bloodlust. Yeah, from Naruto pure bloodlust. And basically, Naruto, he didn't see that he like smacked Hinata into the wall, but it wasn't on purpose. And basically, he's just making his way to the village. He's slaughtering villagers. He's slaughtering kids, elders, everybody that comes in his way. He's just killing them. RIP to those people. And basically, they said, and Naruto. Oh, and Minato, he just like jumps out of the he jumps out of his stand. Tsunade. And Naruto looks at Minato and he says, You the one that hurt her. And Minato says, "Who are you talking about?" And Naruto said, "You sent Ambu to her house and now she's bruised and beat. Her beautiful face is messed up because of you." He blitzes um he blitz him, and basically after he like blitz him, he starts pummeling him with hands. Like you know how Goku Meteor combo is? Yeah. He did something like that. But he did like the first part where he started like beating him up and kicked him to the ground. Yeah. So after and yeah, and basically and after he like after he like he like after Minato hits the ground, the villagers like they walk inside and they're like, Minato, what happened? And then they see not then they're like one of the people say, it was that nine-tails freak. And yeah. And yeah, that's I mean like I said, basically after he got pummeled down and it was like that's that nine-tails brat with Hinata, we get back to Naruto. And Naruto grabs the kunai and says, I'll kill you, Minato. And Kushina walks out and says, you have to get to me first. And he look, don't hit women. So he say, I don't hit women, but I'll beat them. He says, I don't hit women, but I'll beat a bitch. And he said, and she says, huh? He says, I'll say it one more time for you. I don't beat. He says, I don't hit women, but I will beat a bitch. And she says, what does that mean? And then he said, let me show you. And he grabs her by her neck and he crushes her windpipe. He crushes her windpipe. And she just like grabs him for air. Then he goes back to Minato with his kunai. He shanks Minato in the stomach. Like 7 times. He shanked him. He stabbed him 7 times. Yeah. So basically after he stabbed him, Tsunade was like, she was just frozen in fear. Naruto looked at Tsunade and he could tell that Tsunade was scared. She didn't know what's going on. And she says, and he looked at Kakashi. Kakashi was scared too, but he wasn't showing it. And he says, Naruto says, I'll spare you too. As Naruto screams in pain because his Yang's died, gave him too much chakra. And he falls down. He falls down into the he you know what I'm saying, he calmed down and he said, hold on, I'll be right back because the summons is so annoying me. Sorry. So after he calmed down, basically Naruto, wait, what percent? Oh, let me go get my charger. And basically he's like screaming in pain because like he's getting out of his nine-tails because he's not angry anymore. Yeah, he's not angry anymore. So basically we see him just sitting there screaming. We see Minato dead, him screaming. Ambu dead, villagers dead. Then we see, what's his name? Then he see, Naruto. Oh, no, Naruto. Then Tsunade and Kakashi, like, they run up to Naruto. And Naruto says, "Get away from me," as he's still screaming. And basically, we do a 3-hour time skip. And Naruto, the Naruto chakra is like fully out of the Atos is like fully out of Naruto. And basically, got so loud. Basically, Naruto, he just Naruto basically he said after the 3 hours they tranked him. And after they tranked him, they took him down to the prison and they chained him up onto the wall, and they made seals in the room, so he really couldn't do anything but just breathe and talk. Just breathe and talk. He really couldn't move because he was chained down. So his arms were chained down to the wall. His chest was, his legs, his ankles, his wrists, his neck, everything. And so basically Naruto, Hinata wakes up and she's like, we get back to Hinata, and she wakes up, she says, "Where's Naruto?" And the villagers say, "You don't need to be around him anymore. He slapped you into that wall, and he killed all those Ambo villagers. He killed the 4th Hokage." And now Hinata said, "No, Naruto, he was being controlled." And they said, "Still, we're going to protect you from him." And she says, "I guess." And then she says, "I need to go speak to the Hokage." And basically, she goes to the Hokage, and she says, "Hokage-sama, where's Naruto-kun?" And Tsunade says, "I couldn't do anything about it." She says, he's in prison. And she says, Hinata says, "Can I see him?" And he said, and Tsunade says, "I guess." And so after he said, "I guess," basically what happened was, she told him to a cell, and she said, "Naruto, is that you?" And he said, "Get away from me, Hinata. I'm a monster." And she says, "No, Naruto, you're not a monster. You remember all the fun times, and remember all the fun times we had? You remember when you protected me? All those times?" And he says, "I remember that, Hinata." He says, "I remember that, Hinata." And so basically, Hinata said, oh my God. Hinata said, "Please," she says, "Naruto, that wasn't you, was it?" And he says, "No, I couldn't control myself." And then, basically, basically what happened was we see Naruto. He's crying and says, Hinata, when I get out of here, he says, Hinata, when I get out of here, I promise you that we will have a family. And she says, so we're gonna have kids? And he said, yeah. And Naruto, if you think about it, Naruto's really immortal because like the Naruto chakra, it just heals him. Whenever he get hurt, it just heals him automatically. And I'm gonna say he got like super, super fast regeneration. Like if you stab his shoulder, a nanosecond after, it will get healed. That's how fast it is. So basically, Naruto, he said, just promise me, Hinata, that you won't love anyone else. And after he says that, she says, Naruto, I promise you I won't love anyone else but you. And he said, promise me. And she says, I promise you. And basically, Naruto said, Hinata, you just wait. Well, I'll be out of here soon. And after he said that, basically after he said that, we basically just see Naruto smiling and like he's like just not in shock, but he's like in pain because like they shackled him up and his arms can't breathe. So yeah, and he's mad about Hinata. How he didn't he's mad about Hinata because like he hit her. And he says, Hinata, I'm sorry. And she says, there's no need for you to apologize, Naruto-kun. And she says, yes there is. I lay my hands on you, and that's something I said I was just never ever gonna do in my life. And she said, no, Naruto, it's my fault for trying to stop you. And after he says that, he says, no, it's my fault. If I would have just controlled myself, then I probably would have he says if I would have just controlled myself, I probably could have won, or I probably could have fought the darkness that was inside. And she said, no, Naruto, please don't blame this on yourself. And he said, Hinata, that's the only thing I can do. And she said, no, it's my fault. And the prisoner guard walks up to her and says, that's enough. He says, that's all the time you have. And Naruto says, please, one more minute. He says, please, one more minute. And basically, Naruto says, but the guard says no. He says, no. And basically, after he says no, After he says no, Hinata says, okay, Naruto, I love you. I hope you can get better. Or I hope you will be out of here soon. And the dude laughs, he says, yeah, about that. He's not getting out of here anytime soon. So you might as well. He says, so you might as well sit this one out and find you another one. And Naruto says, what do you mean I'm not getting out? And he says exactly what it sounds like. You're in here for life, little boy. You shouldn't have killed all those people. And Naruto says, but it wasn't me. It was and he says, don't try to blame other people for your mistakes, kid. Even if it was that Nine-Tails demon, you could have still fought it. But you were too weak. You were too weak to fight it. You were just like you were too weak to protect your girl. And he says, what do you mean? He neck chops Hinata. And he says, this is what I mean. And he picks Hinata by the throat. And basically, she like passed out. And he says, get your hands off of her. Naruto, he could easily break these chains. He says, get your hands off of her. He says, the guard says, I did not mean to do that, bro. He says, he laughs and he says, what are you gonna do? Stop me? And basically, Naruto said, I guess I'll have to. And basically, he basically, after he said, what, you're gonna stop me, Naruto, broke the chain and says, yeah, I am. And he kicks down he grabs the iron, wall, or the, cell, whatever you want to call it. He grabs that, or the bars. He grabs the iron bars of the, whatchamacallit. And he says, I didn't want to do this. And he just rips it off. After he rips it off, basically, the guard, he gets scared, and he says, please don't kill me. And he says, oh, I won't kill you. And he says, you won't? He says, no, I won't. And he slaps the guard, he slaps the guard like all the way to New Jersey. He slap him hard. He make him fly. And so he picks up Hinata and says, we have to live a secret life somewhere else, I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry for this. And you might not be able to lead your clan. But I couldn't let that man do that to you. For only I. Nah, he don't get to do that last speech. Nah, he says, I'm sorry, Hinata. But we have to leave this place. And after he says we have to leave this place, Hinata, I can't speak. Hinata wakes up and says, Naruto, where are we at? And he says, shh, it's okay now. And he says, you were hit. and I can tell you what that man was about to do to you. And she says, wait, Naruto, how are you out of your chains? And he says, well, I'm out of my chains. And, or it doesn't, well, I'm out of my chains. He says, I could have easily broken out. And I mean easily broken out, Hinata. And I didn't want to see you hurt. So that's what I did. And she said, so you were up there the whole time and you could have broken out. And she says, put me down. He puts her down and she smacks him. And she says, Naruto. She says, Naruto, I was so worried about you. And you could have easily broken yourself out. And he says, sorry, Hinata. And she says, just come on. I don't want to argue. She says, come on, I don't want to argue, Naruto-kun. And he says, okay, thank you, Hinata. And basically, oh my god, basically, we see Naruto and Hinata, like, they dooming. They broke through the, okay. They broke through the thing, and basically, like, they broke through the wall. And after they broke through the wall, he not actually no. After they broke through the wall, I want to say that Naruto and Hinata are like just zooming. Like they was warned. It was like people had told them, or not people, but they was like one of the Anbu said, Miss Hokage, Naruto's broken out. What do you want me to do? And she says, well, he's had a hard life. I don't want to give him an even harder one. And she says, just tell him to come here. I want to speak to him before he goes. And the Anbu tries to catch Naruto. And Naruto says, as he sees the Anbu like following him, he says, what do you want? I'm just trying to leave. He says, what do you want? I'm just trying to leave and live my life in peace with my girl. And basically, he says, the Hokage wants to speak to you before you left Hinata. And he said, he looked at Hinata, and Hinata was just said, it's your choice, Naruto-kun. And Naruto says, okay, fine. Hinata still has some stuff she wants to get into it. And basically, they go to Hinata, or they go to the Hokage. He's following the Anbu. And the Hokage, the Anbu knocks on the door. And Naruto, they just body flicker in there, because they don't have all day. And then, ooh, he might be our character. After, they don't have all day, basically, Hinata, she says, Naruto-kun, are we going to stay here for a day or two before we move? And he says, no, Hinata, I'm sorry, but we have to start moving today. And Naruto, he didn't kill any of Hinata's like clan members because like he knew. And basically, Hinata said, okay, Naruto-kun, and she went to go, and she just went to go, she went to go get her stuff, and Naruto said, what do you want, Hokage? And she says, Naruto, this probably won't mean much, but just to let you know. He's like, what do you want? And she says, Naruto, I know this probably won't mean much, but I'm so sorry for all the hard things that I have done to you and the stuff that the villagers have done. And I hope you can forgive. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me one day. As Naruto sighs and says, is that all you wanted to tell me? And she says, yes. And basically, Naruto said, well, if that's all you wanted to tell me, then I guess there's really no point in me being here. And she says, what do you mean? He says, she says, what do you mean by that? And he says, that's all you had to tell me. I already knew that, Hokage. And she says, well, I want to tell it to you directly. And basically, he said, okay. And he says, okay. But just to let you know, I didn't need that. And she says, Naruto, why do you have to be like this? And he says, sorry, but I low-key, what am I saying? He says, sorry, but I just have to go, and I'm actually ready to leave, just waiting on Hinata to come back. And he says, Hinata, huh? Then Naruto says, yeah, what about it? And says nothing. I just like how you and that girl are gonna stick together like glue until the day you guys die. And Naruto says, you think so? And Hokage says, yeah. And Naruto says, I already know that. And she says, you're trying to stall me, aren't you? And she says, I'm sorry, Naruto. And Naruto body flickers out of there to go to look for Hinata, and he can't find her nowhere. He goes back to the village, and he says, to the Hokage mansion, and he says, where is she? And Hokage says, we have to take her, Naruto. You've become a rogue. He says, we have to take her, Naruto. She belongs to the village. She's pretty much our strongest asset. And he says, I'll make you a deal. If you let Hinata go, I'll come to the village and I'll stay as your strongest asset. And Tsunade like widened her eyes. She said, really? He says, yes, just let her go. As he started crying, fake crying. And it was like, he's being serious. Then they said, they whistled and Hinata was wrung out. She was hogtied. You don't know what hogtie mean. And basically your hand behind your back, you wrap your hands in rope, and then your legs, they together and they wrapped in rope. And he says, what the hell is this? He says, you're gonna bring me back my girl fucking hogtied. And Tsunade says, well, he says, shut the hell up. And he cuts the hogtie, the ropes off of Hinata. And he says, and he was like, and he hugged her. Yeah, he hugged her. And she said, Naruto, is that you? Naruto, is that you? And Naruto said, yeah, it is. It's me. Hina. He said, it's me, Hina. And basically, after he said, it's me, Hina, she said, she opens her eyes, says, thank you. She says, I really miss you, Naruto. And he says, me too. But I made a deal with them. And I have to stay here and protect the village. And she says, but Naruto. And he says, I don't want you to see, I don't want you to see me doing that. And they said that they would let you out of the village. And she says, Naruto. He says, yeah, Hinata. He says, I'm staying with you, silly. And he says, oh, sorry. This is how part of his plan. He says, but I promised them, Hinata. I'm so sorry. And he starts crying or starts tearing up. And Hinata's like, he usually doesn't cry like this. He says he has to be planning something. And she says, definitely. He's definitely planning something. And basically, Hinata was like, yeah, I just wonder, when is he gonna plan it? And you know what they do back there, right? And basically, he says, ooh. He says, Hinata, I want to tell you something. And he said, yeah. And he says, no matter, he says, I want to tell you that I always love you. And Hokage says, okay, you can let her go. And he says, okay. And he says, I will always love you, Hinata. And he says, actually, we'll be taking our leave now. And after she says, we'll be taking our leave now, Naruto basically, he doomed. I'm gonna say he put a smoke bomb grenade down. What? A smoke grenade. And basically, he escaped from the smoke bomb. A smoke grenade, whatever you wanna call it. And basically, after that, he said, Hinata, I probably won't be able to give you the best life, but I'll make sure to give you a good one. And she says, not that good. You don't have to give me a good life. I just want to be with you. And he's hideous. Oh yeah. After she says, I just want to be with you. Naruto kisses her. And they 18, so, pretty sure I announced that. Naruto kisses her. And she kisses him. I want to say, actually, we're not gonna get to that yet. Naruto, um, Naruto, he made he made them a house, a little small cottage. Like that's at least three to four people, and it has like